Live. So, welcome TBC to a very special edition of TBC times the Cycle Breakers, aka Robyn Tate. She is going to be playing the part of host tonight, and I'm going to be the one answering questions and giving some insight to root cause therapy, which is what I've been doing for the past 6 weeks with Robyn. So I'm going to kindly hand over the mic, metaphorically, to Robyn. Welcome to the TBC, as always.
Guys. That sounds a bit weird. I've taken Jay's place.
I wish you would permanently, to be fair.
It must be weird, though, without him today.
It is, like, I've got such a blank space next to me.
Oh.
A void.
So thank you, first of all, for doing this. This is really amazing, just to have the chance to talk about everything that we've been doing together and try and spread the word about how amazing root cause therapy is. So I thought we'd start off with a little urban dictionary.
Seriously?
No, I'm joking.
Oh. I was well excited then.
Oh, I thought you might be disappointed.
Do you remember the one we did when you was on first? Do you remember the
course I
term?
do. How could I forget? Yeah, that was.
Have you never repeated it since? I take it.
That was a moment. I thought it was great because it really kind of settled me in and to the core. It was a really, really good icebreaker. So. Yeah, keep them up.
After me and Joe was a bit like, should we have done that?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. So I guess it was kind of like, it was good because it took my mind off everything else that I was kind of thinking about. And then I just kind of went into the rest of it a bit more naturally. So, yeah.
That's really good to know.
Yeah. Okay, so... I guess, first of all, it would just be good to know because, I mean, that was our kind of first introduction was me being on the podcast and I felt we had a really good connection on the call. We had loads of like stuff in common that came out on the call as well. And it went on longer than expected because we just had so much to talk about.
So much.
And it was kind of afterwards that I approached you to say, you know, I'm getting certified in root cause therapy and I need some people to help me to, you know, practice this so that I can actually get certified. And you were quite happy to go through the process with me. And so what was it that made you want to do root cause therapy with me?
Well, first, I don't think I would have done it with anyone else because we sort of we got on really well, and you were very like empathetic and stuff when we was on the pod at first with like situations that me and Jay handled and stuff, and instead of being like, oh, you're to a shit persons or you shouldn't have done that, you like that has happened, and that's how we were made to feel, that we were just the worst people on earth because we made a few mistakes. But you sort of was like, you know what, I can probably see why you would have reacted that way, or why your certain actions towards certain situations, because of your upbringings and all that stuff. Like it kind of adds up.
Mm-hmm.
So when you asked like me and Jay, I think we was together when you messaged us. Obviously, fucking never too far away from each other.
Always are. Yeah.
And he like literally like turned to me and was like, "Mate, that is perfect for you."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I know, it really is, because I was in therapy, or I still am, to be fair, for like 6 years now.
Yeah.
And doing the whole talking through your emotions and stuff like that, it's a great benefit. There's no downside to doing it, but there's no real like breakthrough moments or challenging things that you have to sort of overcome within it. You sort of just sat there getting your feelings validated by a third party who doesn't know any. They've got no precursors. They've got no what's the word, like preconceived judgments of who you are as a person, or who it is that you're sort of like moaning about or whatever. And I just think with this, I really knew that it'd be a challenge, and it'd take me to places in my head where I fully didn't want to go, and my brain's been putting padlocks on it for years and years and
That kind of
years.
next
And
level, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so I kind of I expected it to be hard, but not quite as hard as it turned out it was. So it's like sort of short term, fuck me, that's so difficult, and then after the fact, it's like, wow, like it's so worth it to sort of put yourself in that situation in your head where you're like, I really don't want to do this, but you need to in order to heal. Like you can't just, like I described it before in other videos, saying that you just kind of put polyfiller over your personality cracks with the sort of talking therapy. Whereas with this, it's like you fucking knock down the house and rebuild it from scratch.
Exactly. Yeah,
Everything
I think
it's brand new.
Yeah. I think, like you say, for so long we've been trying to tackle these problems by just talking about them, which is great. As you say, it's great to be able to verbalize what's going on inside, especially if you're not used to, having that outlet. But really, when you're dealing with this kind of trauma, that's actually stored within the body in the soma. It's then being able to access that trauma again, those feelings that were present at the time, and being able to complete them and understand them, and then let them finally release themselves from your body, which is obviously basically what we've done. And it's like healing. So I think they call that healing from the bottom up. You're working with the body and the feelings and emotions that have been trapped inside your body for so long, causing stress contractions, causing all sorts of different mental and physical health problems as well, rather than kind of the top down way that we've been so used to, with, like you say, with just talking therapy. So yes, that's great to hear. So obviously my kind of niche and what I'm working with is around generational trauma, which is what we spoke about on the podcast before. And I think there was some of that. The main thing that we were kind of dealing with was the grief that you were still holding on to around losing your mother at such a young age, and kind of not being able to process that. But would you say that there was other generational trauma that has affected you as well that we worked on? Yeah,
definitely. Like a lot of the generational stuff would be from my father, from my dad. Now this is not like I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not blaming, I'm not I'm not looking for sort of people to listen to this and go, oh, what a dickhead, Ryan's dad should have done that. Like this isn't it. It's
not
just
about that. Yeah.
No, it's circumstantial, and that guy went through exactly the same thing I did. The sort of I lost my mum, he lost his wife at a very similar age to what I am now. And even though like my wife and I are not together, if she was all of a sudden not there, like it would be crushing. So let alone when you're absolutely madly in love with the person and you're building a life with that person, and they just get like taken away from you. So his circumstances were awful, and he had his own stuff from his own upbringing, which was then sort of like obviously passed down onto me, because that's what generational trauma is, if I'm not mistaken. And because he, didn't have the sort of tools maybe that we have now to sort of have those inward conversations with himself, he just did the best that he could with what he had, and I'm very grateful for that. Totally. But there was aspects of it, like I only knew how to deal with situations by getting irate and angry, frustrated, because that's kind of all I was shown as a kid. Like if something's, the wire gets tangled on the Hoover, you just fucking rip the Hoover apart, and then you get your wire out, but then the fucking Hoover's broke, or something of that nature. And it's definitely stayed with me, and it's had its reared its sort of ugly head in my life and in my relationships and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and but,
I was
but
going,
again,
sorry, I was going to go. I was going to go on to that question of sort of how they've affected you, but it's really important actually that you brought up about the fact about, you know, we're not here to blame anyone. So it's such a big block when it comes to generational trauma, is that kind of acknowledgement that there might have been issues from your parents, from your grandparents. And like you say, it's really not about blaming. It's about identifying where these issues have come from, because unless we know, then we can't do anything about it. And so we can then look at that situation with that empathy and understanding, like you have just shown. You know, the fact that your dad just did the best with what he had. You know, he did the best he could, and in a lot of people's situations, you know, that's not the case, and obviously systematic abuse happens, and you know that's a different situation. And so each person's situation is completely subjective, but yes, when it comes to these kind of situations, you know, you've got to go with your gut on these, and I think you generally have that knowing, don't you, as to whether someone's intent, whether someone's deep down is, you know, there's that goodness there, and actually it's their own trauma that's affecting them, that's made them treat you the way that they did, that's kind of passed that trauma onto you, whether it's through nature, you know, DNA passed down through the genes as it can be, or through nurture, just through you know, showing setting the wrong examples and then imprinting that onto your children, and then that's how they learn as they grow up. So I thought it was great that you mentioned that, because I know that can be a real just a sticking point for many people who might be suffering from generational trauma. So sorry, I'll let you carry on. So how do you feel that? So first of all, I guess, how did you become aware that you had, that some of your issues could be because of your upbringing and possibly generational trauma?
Yeah. So I my dad got into another relationship like 2 years after my mum passing away. And not to sort of like go into it because I can't be bothered with like the backlash or whatever, but it just wasn't very good for me. Let's put it that way. And I kind of didn't know what was going on around me because my mum's just died, and 2 years, like the age of 79, I have no memory of, or hardly any. I think my brain's got like a full padlock on there with like barbed wire around it and stuff.
Yeah.
And then age 9, a new woman comes into my life, and then we just sort of build a life from there. So I'd say from like age 9 to excuse me, about 19, I was sort of on like autopilot, just in like survival mode.
Yeah.
And I basically spent 10 years suppressing how I actually felt and just keeping it all bottled up for the quote unquote greater good, because it made everyone's life happy except mine.
Yeah.
But I had to just deal with that. Because if everyone else is happy around me, then I can't speak up, and I can't express my feelings on certain situations or certain things that are happening around me. I just have to swallow. And then when I was 19, I could no longer. God, it sounds really bad. I could no longer swallow. I could no longer keep suppressing my. I know it's terrible, isn't it? I couldn't suppress. I know. Yeah. Wouldn't be the trouble boys if they weren't somewhat hanging. But I could no longer suppress. Like my body was telling me it can't do it any longer. I was having like body tremors, and I was hyperventilating a lot. I think it might have been like panic attacks, or it certainly felt like it, like really struggling for breath, high heart rate, hands shaking and stuff like that. And I think it was just my body trying to be like, mate, we need to blow up soon, otherwise, like you're going to be fucked. So I moved out of the house at 19, and my girlfriend at the time, who was now my ex-wife, it's the same person, moved in shortly after, which was obviously great. And then what I started noticing was the second that anything bothered me or I was unhappy about, I would fly off the handle and start like smashing up doors, punching walls, running around the house, like snarling, just like basically releasing any emotion that I could when something so slight didn't go my way. My brain was like, oh, she's moved your headphones to the table, now they're on the shelf. That pisses me off. Right, go nuts. Or she's shut the window that you've opened, go nuts, because you need to get rid of everything. And she unfortunately took the brunt of a lot of my outbursts. And at 19 was probably when I was at my absolute worst. I must have been depressed beyond belief. I was angry constantly. Just I don't know. I wasn't necessarily like negative person to be around, but I just always felt angry inside. And the second that my brain could release, I would, and I would be hurting the one that I love most. In every scenario, really. And
well, when you think about the amount of anger that we released and we processed in some of our sessions, I guess now looking back, you can kind of see how that was stored in your body and just needed, that some of that work.
Yeah, 100%. And then it sort of magnified even further when I had children. My firstborn, my son, when he was born, and say, for example, I couldn't settle him at night, and he would still be crying. I would take it very, very personally, and I'd think I'm a shit dad. I'm shit. I can't fucking do this. I'm worthless. I shouldn't have had a kid. I'm not worth it. And I would get annoyed and frustrated, and I would pass my son back to my wife and be like, I can't fucking settle him. He fucking hates me. I'm a shit dad. You fucking do it. He'll obviously settle for you. You're fucking men. I'm fucking shit. That's how it's always going to be. And it was just a very, very self-destructive patterns that I kept exhibiting, and the more I was doing this, the more resentment was getting built towards me from my wife or ex-wife now,
and impacting the relationship.
100%. Like there's a lot of good, don't get me wrong, but I was the sort of main antagonist for it ultimately not working out, just because of my probably just the way I approached life. And if, say, a situation arose where my son was expressing himself in a positive way, but sort of perceived by the general public like he was being naughty, like he might have been just jumping about, flapping his hands or screaming a bit, but in like a good positive way. If someone was looking at me like, fucking can't control his son, that guy, he's and I'd take it personally again, and I'd be like, they're right. I can't control him. I'm shit. Like, let's go. Wherever he was, I'd be like, let's leave. Like, we're going. And my missus at the time would be like, what the fuck? Why? And I'd be like, no, we're going. And then I'd just close off. I'd shut down. It'd take me so long to come back around. It'd be like 4 hours, and I wouldn't have spoken to a soul. I would have been upstairs in my room, sulking, essentially, sulking. And then maybe I'd come down, try and sort it out, and I'd probably make it worse. And then I'd go back upstairs, and then I'd have to inevitably come down, tail between my legs, and be like, oh, I'm really sorry. And it's like, well, why the fuck can't you do that 4 hours ago?
I've heard you talk about this before in our some of our sessions, and and how that's changed now, where you say about someone might look at you and say you can't control your son, and having that different understanding now of child's development, and knowing that it's not about controlling them at all, and you've how far you've come since then. So I know you've done the last couple of years done a lot of work around your own self-development, so. And now, getting to this place where we've done this kind of work together. Did you have any concerns or hesitations before we started the therapy?
No, I had zero, because I only knew that good things could come of it, because I've needed it. Like, did the therapy and stuff like that, and got my feelings validated and all that stuff. But I needed to be sort of brought down and go into like the depths of my brain that I've been ultimately burying, and thinking that they're going to leave on their own, but that's just not how the body works. And I was so eager. I was probably too eager, probably pecking your head, going, I fucking can't wait to start doing this. And you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to fucking rip your brain apart. You really shouldn't be this excited.
Well, it's a great sign you were ready. You were just, it was there for the taking kind of thing. You got so far, a bit like myself with the self-development journey, and kind of feel like you hit a bit of a wall, and then it really is just taking it to that next level. So it's good to know that, because you need to be ready for this work. You need to have done a certain amount, I think, of digging, but around before. Would you agree? Before you do something 100%. Like that?
Yeah, 100%. It came at the exact right time. It was. I don't think it's like a coincidence that Jay probably put a like on your page, and we got you on, and then you ultimately end up doing this with me. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence at all.
And can you tell us a bit about how you felt during the sessions themselves? What the experience was like
during the sessions? It was hard. It was hard because I am quite a skeptical person by nature. Yeah. But with how you were sort of handling that and making me feel very, very comfortable, very safe, and very like you've seen it all before. Like I'm not going to surprise you. So yeah, you made me feel very.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's all right. You made me feel very at ease, and like you had my back if I was gonna, show a lot of weaknesses, which I did. There was no judgment from you. There was no sort of comeuppance for it. Like you wanted me to show these weaknesses, so you could help me through them.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing that really sort of like brought all my walls down. And then when you told me to sort of like let your mind like wander, like don't sort of try and steer it in like any certain direction, like just your body and your mind will tell you where it wants to go. Just give yourself to it. And once I sort of identified that, like, don't try and steer where you want your memories to go or where you want to focus on, that everything sort of like clicked, because your head would just take you there, because wherever it takes you, that's what it needs to work on, or that's what it wants to show you, and then you just have to let it.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to just trust yourself and just kind of let your mind do the work for you almost. And that kind of that safety bit that you were talking about is so important, and I always in your corner throughout the whole process, and just backing you to do that, to really go, just creating that right perfect environment for your mind to feel safe and to feel to go to wherever it needs to go to do that, to do the healing, because when you have trauma, that's a big problem with people who have trauma with not being able to feel safe within their own bodies. So healing can't happen without that real feeling of safety. So that's a big part of what I try and create that perfect environment for that to be able to happen. So thank you. It would be good to know what changes you've noticed since we finished the sessions, or throughout the process. How did things shift for you at all?
Like as I think we spoke about previously, like I've already been kind of on like a bit of an upward trajectory and changing myself on a positive scale before we started this, which I think probably helped in a way. But there has been like certain situations that if they would have arose, say 4 or 5 years ago, I would have handled them like vastly different. Like I still get annoyed, like the best of us, but instead of it taking me 4 or 5 hours to come round, realise that it's just not that fucking big of a deal. It's taken me about 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
Like there was like a situation the other day where there was like a miscommunication between me and my ex-wife, and I thought she was getting the kids were getting picked up at this time. She thought they were getting picked up at that time, and like 5 years ago, that would really piss me off because of the just be clear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I did get annoyed. I expressed that I was annoyed, and then I think I was sort of like in the car on the way home with the kids, and I just rang my ex-wife up and said, apologise for snapping before. It was just because of X, Y, and Z. It was really stressful, all that stuff. She was like, "Don't worry about it. I get it. The stressful. It can be stressful then too." And it was fine. It was done.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I never get angry anymore, because that's just not the case. It's the
how you deal with it.
Bit.
Yeah.
It's the after bit of realising, I snapped there and I shouldn't have. I'm out of order. Let's apologise, squash it, and then everyone can move on with their lives. It's that part that has been really, really telling, because, like I said before, it used to take me fucking ages to come back around and realise, shit, I'm actually in the wrong gear.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have acted like that. And then you've gone and made it worse. Now you've got to apologise tenfold more. Like, it's not taking me long to do.
Yeah. So there's two elements there, isn't there? So it's the awareness around the situation, which we did a separate kind of a bit of work on, didn't we, with you reading The Power of Now and kind of raising your awareness through that.
It's on here at the bottom.
Sorry?
I've got it on my notes at the bottom.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we can't not mention that book in this. Okay. Don't worry. It's on the radar.
Cool. Brilliant. And so, there's the awareness part, and then also, that ability to then be able to just have that emotional regulation and resilience. And then, like you say, within 20-minute turnaround, you kind of being able to just put it to bed and move on. So that's cool. Have you noticed any other changes in relationships, work, and your well-being at all?
Oh, loads. Yeah, my work is going really well. I'm very, very passionate at what I do. My company really look after me, and I've just not met one dickhead in the company. Everybody seems to share that same mentality of like, we're all on the same team, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing or whatever. And I've never come across that in a workplace before. And no matter who I speak to, or if someone needs help or I need help, they're like, "Oh, I don't know the answer, but so and so will. Why don't you give them a call?" Whereas in other workplaces, they've been like sort of knowledge hogs and got that mentality of like, "Oh, knowledge is power. Like, you can't encroach on my stuff, because then I'm less valuable in the company," and all that stuff. So, and that I really enjoy where I work at the moment, and
that's good.
Yeah, I really like it. Relationship wise, I definitely think it's helped me and my ex-partner develop a good co-parenting relationship. We've both got two very big things in common, which is our children and the happiness of our children.
Yeah.
So with the sort of way that I am at the moment, and have been for, I'd say, maybe a year now, it's massively helped us on a just more of like a friendship level. Like, we can take the kids to places together as a family, and it's completely fine. When I'm on the way up to the house, I'll bellow and be like, "Do you want a coffee? I'm in there now." Like, yeah or no. It's made my life significantly easier, just to sort of, awesome. I don't know, let go, like whatever's happened, whatever's gone on or whatever. There's no point in me thinking about it. It's just going to waste energy, it's just a waste of time. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen anyway. So I'm not going to I'm not going to waste any time thinking about that or worrying, because it'll happen in mine now.
Yeah.
No, there's more to go on that in a bit. But no, it has really helped me. It's
Okay,
helped me a
cool.
lot.
Good. Are there any more kind of specific breakthroughs or kind of moments of clarity that you experienced that you can mention?
Yes, there is. So the first one has to be my the first session that we did, because in that one we obviously did the identifying your limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
which obviously I didn't know what that was going to happen or what that entailed, and you was like, yeah, just do this, do that, and yeah, your body will tell me whether or not they think it's true. And then we figured out that I fear abandonment, which when I told Jay, it was like, yeah, I could have guessed that. And I was like, well, maybe, but I've never verbalized it. I've never mentioned it to like my other therapist, saying like, oh, I fear abandonment. I've never said it in my life, and I didn't think it was an issue. So when we did it, and you had me go into like the memory and stuff of where I felt like the most abandoned, I proper felt it in like my like physically, like in my diaphragm, in my chest, and I was fucking sobbing my little heart out.
Yeah.
Like, you must have seen the proper ugliest cry of a man you've ever seen in your life when we was doing that.
I'm there for all of it, as you know. I'm there for it all.
Yeah, and like after that, it was it allowed me to be in control, for one, because I'm choosing to feel it.
Yeah.
And then it really allowed me to sort of process it like through my own eyes as a 7-year-old kid stood up in between my dad's legs, and he's telling me that I'm never going to see my mum again. And he was like, how are you feeling in that moment? And I'm obviously describing it to you as a kid. And I remember saying, he was like, what emotion is it? Because obviously you could feel a lot of different emotions in a situation like that. And I remember saying, it's just pure sadness, like pure and utter, like nothing else, like no grief or no, like nothing else. It was just utter sadness. And then we obviously turned it up like a motherfucker. It hurt like mad. It was really taxing on my body, for one. Like my chest and diaphragm were like sore. It's like I did a fucking ab routine or something. And the healing hangover after that was probably the worst one of the 6 weeks after that very first one. But it was just meant to be able to feel it, that emotion of being like sort of abandoned and stuff like that, which obviously through no one's fault or anything like that. It's just the sort of emotion that gets associated when stuff like that happens, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it was I've chosen not to feel that for my whole life.
Exactly.
Because I could never process it. I never realised, and then just clicked my fingers, and I'm 19, and I've just sort of left it buried in my body.
Yeah.
And obviously that when it got like brought to the surface and stuff, it was very, very difficult to face. But I'm very grateful that we did.
Yeah, I think as you say, it's kind of you're choosing to do that. It's empowering, isn't it? And so you're actually going back and processing what you weren't able to, exactly like you said before, because you didn't have the capacity, the ability as a child to be able to do that, to understand what was going on, what your emotions were trying to tell you, and it resulted in all those, of the way that it did as you grow up, and so as you know, I always get your permission when we go back to these events. It's always about getting the permission of the subconscious mind first. We don't go anywhere without your mind agreeing to it, and without you feeling safe and ready to go there. And And so you're in control the whole time. You know, it's never, the session is always completely yours. And even though I'm talking to your subconscious mind, you know, we quite freely speak to each other throughout that, don't we? And you know, I'm once we go there, the purpose of going there is for healing. You know, it's not about going there because you can so easily, especially with like talk therapy, you can, you know, you have to be careful not to re-traumatize people. And so the point of going back there is to do that healing work, to get you to feel the emotion, to turn it up so that your body can finally complete the cycle of the emotion that was meant to move through you in the first place, but, you know, was either suppressed or you were so young you couldn't deal with it. And then once we've cleared all the emotions from the event, you're able to see it more clearly. And that's when we go into the learnings and we look at, you know, the truth of the event and what we can learn from it, what we can bring back with us when we leave the event and take forward with us. So yeah, you did an amazing job. And that first session, as I know, it was really, really tough on you. And I was so proud of you. I mean, we do this whole thing together, so I'm in there with you, in the trenches with you throughout, and you know, I share some of that with you, which is an absolute honour. So yeah, thank you so much. So I guess I was about to ask you, looking back, what was the most challenging part of the healing journey, but perhaps that's
there's
it.
more. There's another that I wanted to mention because I just think it's too nice not to. Mm-hmm. So you'll probably remember, I probably know what I'm going to say, but when we was doing, I think it was my second to last session, mm-hmm. and I was sort of struggling to isolate a memory and identify an emotion, and I think you could tell that I was getting a bit deflated because I was like, fuck, like you spent all your life angry at someone, and now you've got the opportunity to feel it, and you can't do it. And I remember you saying let's pause for a minute, mm-hmm. let your mind go wherever it wants to go, and then we'll just start from there. Mm-hmm. And then it immediately went to my mum again, and you was like, okay, like talk me through what you can see. And I think I mentioned that I was like under a sunbed with my mum on the bed. She had one at our old house, like it hovered over the bed like a veranda. Mm-hmm. And it was such a nice memory. Yeah, it's one of my happiest memories that I've got off my mum without a doubt. Mm-hmm. And you cottoned on the fact that like, oh shit, I could probably get into feel something here. And you pressed a button and was like, what do you think your mum would say if she was here right now? And I was just like the diaphragm started going again like it did in my first one. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, what a question that is. And then obviously I answered, like, I think I said something like, I think you should be dead proud of the person that I am and stuff, and everything that I do that's sort of positive and good is just an extension of her and like what type of person she was. Because every time I'll try that again. Anytime anyone has ever mentioned her to me has just said she was one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Mm-hmm. So to be able to sort of continue that is a fucking privilege, to be fair. And during it, I was like fucking gut wrenching. Like it was so hard to process and to feel, really, because it's such a good memory, but it brings up a lot of sadness along with it. It's a proper double-edged sword. Mm-hmm. And then I remember after it being like, because obviously I come around from the outer depths of my head, mm-hmm. and I was eyes are bloodshot as fuck, and I was just like, I was so grateful that your intuition and knowing like the sort of backstory and stuff like that was like, if I press him here, we can release something here. So I think when inevitably you get other customers, because you fucking will, your sort of intuitiveness of the person that you're working with is such like a good a good skill that you have, and you like honed in on it, and you'll be able to do it for others, I think, as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that session was really moving. I found it really, and it kind of just was the perfect timing because we'd done all of the past. That was the last past healing session. It just felt like it was just the right, everything happened in the right order, just like it was meant to. You know, like I've just said, it's about trusting your mind is going to go to the right place, and it kind of was just, it just felt very. What's the word? Just I guess meant to be. Like that session was amazing, and you did all the work. I was just there, watching and facilitating. So well done you. So what advice would you give to someone who was thinking about doing something like this then?
First of all, get you to do it with them.
Bless you.
And what else would I say? I'd say to someone to come into it with sort of like no preconceptions of what they think it's going to entail, because I did, and it was fuck all like I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be somewhat pseudo therapy bollocks type thing, and I was just going to be like, it's I feel a bit sad, and like very shit mentality going into it, and then once you sort of realise it's absolutely not that, and if you really want to heal yourself from stuff that's happened to you as either a child or as a teenager or an adult or whatever, if you really, really want to heal and find out what your body is harbouring inside, then this is the thing for you to do, because your mind will answer for you. Like it'll do it'll answer a lot of the hard questions for you. You won't have to think. I thought I was going to have to sit there and you asked me what it is I want to work on. I probably wouldn't have said 3/4 of the stuff that we ended up working on. So I think if the person wanting to do this is just willing to give themselves to the program and just come in here with a really, really blank mindset on what they think it's going to be, and just trust the process, and realize that your body is going to do a lot of the work for you, and your mind obviously as well.
Just a passenger.
Just a passenger.
It'd be interesting to know as well how you maintain the progress you've made so far in your healing. Not just the work we've done, but all the work previously. Like, I guess it's you kind of at that point where when you reach, like you're in a growth mindset, and it's you kind of know that every situation is a learning opportunity. So, I mean, is that where you'd say you are now, and how are you going to take this forward with you? I would say so, and I don't say that sort of lightly. Like it's been a lot of hard internal dialogues with myself to sort of like be like, you need to get better, mate. You need to really, really work on yourself and stuff like that. And I think it's like a full-time job to sort of maintain like a good mental state and a good state of being. Because I think if you get to a stage where you think, I'm healed, I'm sound, I'm the most well-rounded individual in the world, that's when you are most prone to fall. Because you think you've got it, you've got all the answers. Whatever situation is going to get thrown your way, you're going to be able to deal with, because you're the master of your own mind. And you just you're not ever going to get there unless you keep working on yourself. And you can't paint everyone with the same brush. Like what I do to sort of like keep myself in like a good like mental state might not be the same as what the other person might do. But for me personally, I walk a lot, I read a lot,
I do a lot of like exercise. I live quite an active lifestyle, as you want to call it. Like, I'm always looking for an excuse to go outside, get into nature. I'm quite an awe seeker. Like, I want to go to like on top of mountains and stuff and just look and feel small and insignificant to the fucking world that we're living in, and just sort of like appreciate the little things. And my main motivators for keeping myself how I am right now are my two kids. They're my purpose. They're the reason why I do this shit and wanted to do this shit and wanted to be better, because me being better directly impacts them on a positive scale. And equally, if I didn't, I would be impacting them on a negative scale and essentially putting my generational trauma into them. And what I'm doing there is saying, I'm not going to fucking deal with it. You two are going to have to, unfortunately. And I don't think I could look myself in the mirror and like who was staring back at me if I did that to my kids. And initially in the first like maybe 2 years of my son being born, that's the road I was going down for sure.
Yeah.
And then my daughter was born, and I think about 6 months after my marriage ended and stuff, for about a period of 6 months, I was just very, very closed off from the world, very shut down, and just sort of like, I just sort of existed. And I remember one night I put my daughter to bed and I said, "Love you." And she said, "Love you, Daddy." She'd never said it before. So I went downstairs, rang Jay, bawling my eyes out. I was happy, sad, angry, excited, depressed. I was every emotion under the sun at once, and it was all pouring out of me. And it's literally from that day henceforth, I was like, fuck this. You need to sort your head out, mate. You need to be better for those two, because they didn't ask to be put here. Like, they were brought here, and you owe them to be better and give them essentially the childhood that you fucking wish you had. And at the minute, you're fucking not doing that. And that's not going to be good for anybody.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, it's pretty much, you keep taking the words right out of my mouth, as you know, as to my own kind of purpose as well. So yeah, I totally feel you on that. Well done. It's not easy, is it, when you have had that example set for you, to then know how to give that to your own children. So that's why we do all this work, to try and get to that place, I guess. Is there anything else you want to share about your experience?
Yes. We can't not do this. And sorry, bloody hell, that rum's hit me. We can't do this and not mention the power of now.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Again, I don't think it's a coincidence that you had me read this while we were doing this therapy either. And I don't think you have to read this if you're doing root cause therapy. I think you need to read this in fucking general.
Anyway,
just anyway. Like, if you're not read a book in your life and you want to get into it, start with this. Because it's quite a short book. I think it's about 6 hours, so you could do it in 6 1 hour lunch breaks. Yeah. And I wanted to mention just a few little quotes from it. You struggled to describe it to someone, didn't you? You know, who has no idea, like, what's power now, what you on about. And I think I've come up with a pretty cool little definition of it.
Brilliant. Come on.
I wrote that it's a book that teaches you to detach yourself from your ego and to embrace the power of living in the present.
Yeah.
Don't worry about stuff that may or may not happen. It's just wasting your energy. And when you're with someone, give them your attention, your energy, and allow yourself to let go. That's definitely a concept of the book, because there's so many messages in there, and they can be interpreted however you see fit. It's like it's like ambiguous in a lot of it, but also very specific. It's very is it like open to interpretation? Is that like the right turn of
I think
phrase?
so. Yeah, I think it's kind of almost engineered that way, isn't it? So you can take it however you do. And yes, there's a lot of language in there that I guess could be taken, in different ways. So, but yeah, that was really good summary of it. And for me, that book was kind of the start of my self-development journey, really. And I've never been the same since I read it. That's a big statement to make, but I honestly
No
had
way.
like one of those out of body experiences on reading that book, and I feel I've been like on a different level of awareness ever since, and one that's kind of evolved over the years because it's a long time since I read that first. So I'm a little bit jealous that you are still kind of on cloud nine having read it the first time. But yeah, I always recommend it to my clients and to anyone really if they're in this kind of into self-development and into wanting to learn more about the mind and how it works, and then definitely go read it or listen to it.
Yeah, definitely. I tried something on Jay the other day, where in the book it says become the observer.
Yes.
And then think about, I wonder what my next thought's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried it with him on last Friday's pod that we just did. It's not
Right,
out yet.
cool.
Coming soon. And I was like, repeat this in your head, mate. I wonder what my next thought's going to be. And he did it. And then I was like, were you just thinking about what your next thought was going to be? And he was like, yeah. And then about 25 other things come to my head as well. I was like, for fuck's sake, trust your busy little head not to fucking work.
Didn't work.
When I've never tried this with anyone else, and now you basically tell me it didn't fucking work. I was like, it must just be you fucking nezzer.
I think even then though, it's just the power of being the observer, and so even when the thoughts are there, just letting them come, letting them go, and that's part of it. Part of the power of now, isn't it? And being present and just seeing thoughts for what they are. They're nothing really. They just don't have the importance that we put on them a lot of the time.
No. And
yeah.
I was trying to tell him that he was like, I think he said something like, so what the fuck's now, like right now? And I said to him, I said, you're probably thinking about tomorrow when you go home and put your kids to bed. You're not going to be putting the kids to bed in the future. You're going to be putting them to bed when it's your now.
It's always now.
It's always the now. Like whenever you experience anything, like if you're, I don't know, worried about sitting an exam and you're in school or whatever, like you're not going to be sitting in the future. You're going to be sitting in your now.
Yeah.
And that sort of like understanding that concept is so freeing.
Yeah, you just wakes you up in the moment, doesn't it? And you're like, whoa, looking around yourself like, well, this is my life, like, crikey. And it's that awareness of awareness itself, it's mad.
Yeah, becoming aware of awareness. That's a good little slogan for it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
Have we really rattled through all them questions? Really, I thought we was going to be here for about 4 hours.
Did really well actually. There's one more, which was how would you summarize your healing journey in 1 or 2 sentences?
Okay, good job, isn't Jay? You could fucking waffle on today as well. So I wrote it down just to be very concise about it. Mm-hmm. So I would say, in summary, it's difficult in the short term, liberating in the long term. Mm. I'm eternally grateful to you. Couldn't have done it without you. Anyone wanting to do this, make sure you hit up Robyn. She's mega.
Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you. I think we covered loads there. So again, just thank you so much for your willingness and your vulnerability and your honesty as well throughout. That really allows the whole thing to happen, because it's about in those moments when something's not going quite right, just saying something, you know, and not, we often have a tendency, especially us Brits, to kind of just go along with things and, or, you know, say what we don't mean just to kind of please others. But, you know, you're always honest with me. And if something's not right, something's not going where it's, you know, or you're going somewhere you're not, don't feel that you should be, then you always speak up, and that allows me to do my job properly. And so yeah, you've helped me so much, and so thank you, and for this as well, and for sharing your story, because it's not easy to talk about some of this stuff. You know, it's different when it's just you and I in that kind of space, but then, you know, sharing that in this way as well is huge. And so you should be super proud of yourself. Well done. And
yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, there's a liberation in itself, isn't it? Just being able to speak more freely, and also now that emotion is detached as well, I think it makes it easier, doesn't it, to talk about some of this stuff, that now that you've processed 100%. It and done some of that healing work, it's not as intense as perhaps it might have been in the past talking about this stuff.
No, they're just sort of like stories now, instead of being like traumatic experiences that you are describing. You're just a storyteller.
Yeah. Perfect.
But no, it's been absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful for you. And we've got you booked in for your part 2 on the 6th of September. Is that right?
Yeah, I better find some more content to talk about. I will easily fill that one. I think there's still a lot more to dig up on my part, to be honest.
Oh yeah, there is. There isn't. I mean, maybe you can relinquish control of your mind on that stuff, and me and Jay can get some hard hitting questions for you. And we might have to put you under. We might have to be like, okay, Robyn, close your eyes.
Send me into past healing.
Imagine your life as a timeline. Fly above it.
Yeah, brilliant.
No, we're not licensed to do anything like that. We'd probably set you there and never be able to get you back. Yeah, no, but I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great to catch up with you both again, and delve into that conversation we're both kind of passionate about. So I'm sure there'll be loads to go over. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, thank you, Robyn. And I've loved this, and I hope we get a lot of like lads or girls as well wanting to get involved, because there's no downside whatsoever. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you so much.